subject which is slightly different from the discussion that has been going on. Although the discussion is in my area of love, that is dance and music and theatre, I've spent all my life in this cultivating these arts and thinking about them. But these so-called performing arts, they are not located in a vacuum. They are located in certain houses or certain spaces. And these spaces are very different now than they were, let us say, before the Industrial Revolution. Most of our problems about preserving art in its various manifestations and various kinds are related to the big transition that took place after the Industrial Revolution. Take your case here. You have the Parthenon. We are sitting just below here. And now it is only an architectural wonder. It is something which is in stone, it's beautiful, it's marvelous, it is meaningful, it is a symbol of many things. But people are only going and watching it and coming down, including the Greeks. Nobody is worshipping there. Now, when the worship was being done, then the arts were part of the worship. Arts were part of all other religious, spiritual, metaphysical activity. And art was not the ultimate thing there, but art was aimed at trying to understand what was being done through other means, means of worship, means of dance of that kind, particular kind, etc. Now, I need not labor that point. This is the situation in largely the western part of the world, leaving aside, of course, the religious tradition which survives here, like the music of the church here, and the worship and music is part of the whole thing, the total thing. Now, we have the situation in India where half or maybe more than half, let us say 80 to 90% of our temples, monuments, palaces, all that are pretty much in the same situation as the Parthenon. That is, we just look upon them, they are heritage sites. Maybe 10% are still living places, in the sense that they are houses of worship, or maybe somewhere somebody is living, or some kind of a performance space is still a performance space related to a way of life, a social standing. Now, when you want to preserve the art, or the arts in its various genres, like dance, music, poetry, etc., can you do it by keeping the location as a museum location, just for preservation? This is a very big problem. Recently, I think it's been more than a year, in India, the highest court of India gave a ruling that in a temple, very famous temple, the worship by offering water would be done by some kind of a special mineral water. Because if it is not done by the protected mineral water, then it would damage the statue. In this case, the Shiva Lingam or the phallus. Okay? Now, of course, the modern judiciary doesn't understand what was the way of life. For the ancient Hindus or the medieval Hindus, if a particular god in stone, who is not a god but a living deity, happens to whittle away or chip away, then all you do is just to make another. You don't worry about preserving it. You see? Now, this is where the contradiction lies. Are we going to recreate? Are we going to reconstruct? Are we going to invest our energies in creating art for the same goal, which is the all-enveloping goal of civilization? All-enveloping goal, that is seeking knowledge, seeking understanding, seeking answers to questions as to who we are, what are we meant for, etc., etc. So, having said that, I come to my topic, which is, I am making loud thinking, doing loud thinking right now, because I am preparing some kind of a proposal which I would submit to my own government, my own Prime Minister, that there should be a very scientific, technical, as well as cultural, philosophical cooperation about preserving the ancient sites in Greece and in India. There are many things that the Greeks can learn about how to preserve a site, how to revive a site. Now, I am not very anxious about using the word preserve, because preserve only means to prevent it from chipping further. You see, that don't let this chip thing deteriorate or chip away. Now, that's not my concern. I would say to recreate it, to nourish it. Sometimes when I would visit museums in Italy, the curators would complain to me about sites in Greeks. They say the Greeks restore. They make the pillars again. They restore them. They change the shape of the whole thing. We only keep it as it is. Now that's just a very big philosophical difference across a small strip of sea. That on this side people think this way, and on this side people think. And I don't think anything in this world can be preserved, because it is the law of nature that things break down, that things chip away. So unless you recreate them, they will not last. You will lose them one day or the other. Now there are many aspects of going into this kind of a mutual undertaking. There are the technical aspects of it. Greece is well placed in this because there has been a much longer and a more detailed history of archaeological excavation here. And it has not been done just at the local level, because the whole of Europe has participated in it. Because ever since 16th century, when the so-called Renaissance came, then Europe decided to declare to themselves that ancient Greece was their forefather in intellectual matters, and so-called construct of the Western civilization came into existence. Of course, it's totally false, because Europe has nothing to contribute in the achievements of the ancient world, Greek or Roman. However, they have appropriated it, and as long as it is not harmful to Greece and Rome, it is acceptable. So, coming back to my point, that archaeologically there has been a huge battery of archaeologists who have worked here, and they have marvelous expertise. I have visited several schools of archaeology, American, German, etc. in the last 25 years. And it is in this respect that India can learn a lot. And there is a lot to learn, because it is not a small undertaking. It's a very, very methodical, meticulous job, and requires not just money but immense dedication. So there is that technological and methodological part of it. Then there is the idea as to why are you doing it? Are you just going to do it because you're going to make a lot of money? I think the ticket for going up to Parthenon is only, now it's 20 euro. So it used to be much less. So is it just for money? Or is it for national identity? If it is for national identity, then how do you relate that particular site to the modern nation and the people in it? That's an important question. And then, how do you make that site available primarily to the young so that they can relate to it? So it has to be through not just pedagogy in the sense that you talk about it in schools and colleges, but that there has to be a vibrant sense of belonging. Now most people say that, and there is this whole United Nations effort, which is highly appreciable, that there are World Heritage Sites. Now undoubtedly, things can be categorized as World Heritage. And the UNO or certain other agencies can give a lot of money to a particular site so that that site can be developed. And this is happening, and this has happened in many places. This has happened in India too. But there is a fundamental flaw in it. As I was telling my friend, about 20, maybe a little more, 20 years ago, I was interviewing your great filmmaker, Michael Kakuyanis. And he happened to say that Parthenon belongs not just, it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the world. And I contradicted him and I said, unless it first belongs to you and you take care of it, nobody else would. And then I talked to him about the Elgin marbles. I said, it's not a matter of just national pride. Where do those marbles belong? So, have they given back all that beautiful, marvelous sculpture after declaring it as a world site?